Shalom, this is Sophia of the AmaruKhan Band of Indians, your friendly neighborhood Shuman, and this is a video. I found some really cool information from a brother off of Twitter, and I wanted to share it, but I wanted to talk about my genealogical or physiognomical profile, so you guys can kind of see. This is some of the stuff that I was studying and looking into back in like 2014, 2015. I was affiliated with a group of individuals who one of the things that they discussed often was physiognomy. It's with a G. Physiognometry, something with the way that you look, okay, right? And how it plays out, how it looks. So, first of all, so you upload your picture. This is what it looks like. You upload your picture, and then the AI tells you based on your picture what you look like. So I use like one of my passport pictures because I wanted it to focus in on my face, right? And so, first of all, the AI came back and said I was 31. I am not 31. So all praises to the Most High. I'm trying to keep that number nice and low. If I can get it under 30, that will be even better because I am almost 40. So I'm excited about that part. Actually, I believe I'll be 39 this year, which is crazy to me. It's crazy because I don't feel a day over 21, literally. And so, except, well, I was as tired as I was at 21 as I am now. So, anyway, so the AI says I look 31, which is cool. And so it gives you a breakdown of where you look like, what facial features you have that match certain places in the world. And so I thought it would be interesting to go through mine. So this little chart at the top is like the whole actual where I break down. So 82%, I 82% look like this. But see, I have a lot of ones that are like over 60, and you'll see I'm going to show you my mom's profile, my dad's profile, so you can see. But 82% I look like I'm from this region right here that's highlighted, which is off the coast of India, which, again, this kind of information and learning yourself in this way is interesting because, oh, and I put the link to this in the profile. Of course, I don't know if links work, so you might have to copy and paste. But it's really easy to remember, and it comes up like little Asian letters, but that's fine. You're just giving them a picture of you. And you're not giving them any other information. They're not looking at anything else. They're just taking your picture and looking at your picture, right? So, I've been covering a lot of Indian texts here. We've been talking about Indian stuff, Indian goddesses and Hindu goddesses and gods and stuff like that. And so the fact that like I very closely resemble, just in my facial structure, so much Indian with the dot kind of culture. It's not surprising to me, but it is fascinating the same. So this is called Carnitid. You can't see the whole thing. I cut off. This is a website, but I just saved it as a PDF so that I could discuss it with y'all. So this is a South Indian type, found its purest form in the Tamil Nadu and northern Sri Lanka, called melanid according to its dark skin tone, which is melanin. Typical for Tamils mixed in Peria, sometimes other Indian people. The medieval Chola invasion brought it to Malaysia and Sumatra. It is linked to the Kholid type further north, right? So the traits are dark brown skin, darker than the Vedis, except for the Malids. curly to wavy hair. And again, maybe I don't mention it, but my hair grows out my head straight. So even though I have locks, my hair literally comes out of my hair straight. And that's not just as a result of perms, because I actually didn't have that many perms growing up. My mom did the hot comb, and I did a lot of braids. So I didn't have a lot of perms in my hair. And also when I turned 18, I cut all my hair off. And I have not had any perms in my hair since I've given birth, which was my first birth was at 22. And so and at that time, my hair was a slightly different texture. It was a little bit more coarse. But after I gave birth, my hair started growing out my hair exactly straight. So like I don't do, for my hair, I don't do a lot of palm rolling. It breaks my hair because my hair grows out my head straight. So palm rolling is not how my hair actually locks up. I have interlocks. And I had interlocks before. I knew my hair was a different type of texture. And so once I started my locks and I started doing them myself, I switched to doing interlocks because I didn't like all that palm rolling. I felt like it was breaking out my hair. And that was actually true. It was breaking my hair out. So anyway, this is just another one of those like really cool, really interesting things. All right. Rather short, and I am pretty short, mesoscelic, ectomorph. Sometimes I don't know what the ectomorph and the mesoscelic means. It has to do with the facial structure. Dochio, mesophilic. I'm not going to read all of this. I don't know what it means. Small headed. I do have a small head, sort of. A triangular nose, which I do have a triangular nose, but not pointed. The face is high and angular with relatively large jaw and full lips. Overall features are Caucasoid despite the dark skin. So, this would, again, sort of tie into this whole how are people moved around and all of this stuff. And even though it's like dark skin but still kind of look like white people or Caucasoids, that's really not surprising to me. And another interesting thing about this, because these people are found in Sri Lanka, I actually grew up with somebody from Sri Lanka, and actually it was a whole family that grew up down the street from me. So the interesting thing about that is that it's not like a huge amount of Sri Lankans in this country. You know, it's not a huge population that immigrates, but I literally grew up with somebody from Sri Lanka, and our last names were very similar. And when we both wore head wraps, because in the early 2000s, he was in a head wrap phase, and I wore head wraps all the time. I wore head wraps all the time, and literally when we both wore head wraps, we would look similar. She was Muslim, so she wore it in the more Muslim, style, and I wore mine in the more, black style of the, New Jack Soul kind of, style with the neo soul and all of that. So I just thought this was super, super interesting because I actually grew up with Sri Lankans. I mean, I actually hung out with them. We spent copious amounts of hours with this family. And so, as it turns out, I was more like them than I knew. So that's really, really fascinating. It was like, when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, this was not like a coincidence. This was a natural culture thing for me. And I always said, like, where I went to elementary school, we had like a mini United Nations, because we had white people, we had black people, we had this family from Sri Lanka, plus we had Africans, and we had other black people, different kind of black people than the kind of black people I was. And so I always thought that was super interesting. So anyway, that's one. Now, mind you, that was 82%. This one right here, I'm 81%. And this is Bantuid. And, you can look and see, this is like Central to South Africa phenotype. But you can also see it's like in parts of the Middle East and also kind of like part of India too. So this is widespread type, native to the savanna regions of southern African hemisphere. So not North Africa, again, not West Africa, native to southern Africa, okay? Skulls tend to be long and low, nose is wide, lips full, chin small, forehead high, facial features robust, hair kinky. In contrast to the pseudonids of the northern savannas, the typical sub-Saharan features are less pronounced, but more bulbous and fleshy, brow ridge stronger, skulls longer, legs shorter. I do have short legs. Probably developed in Central Africa with a Bantu expansion. Okay, this is their theory. North Bantuids tend to have narrower noses, and South Bantuids have more robust noses. Central Bantuids show longer skulls and wider noses. Mixture with older elements produced various types like the Choppy Swana, Fingu Pondo, and Sosid varieties in South Africa. Slavery brought Bantuids to other continents like West Asia and the Americas, where they constitute an important element today. Of course, dodge the hijack. We didn't come here as a result of slavery. We've been here. But I just thought it was interesting to point out. Again, this is a little more African-esque style, and I definitely see similar facial features that I have with these people, just like I see similar features with these people. It's very interesting. All right, the next one, 80%. Now, this is another, you can see it on the bottom of the page here, another more Indian style. Contact group between the Indid and the Vedid, mostly concentrated in the Indian subcontinent. Features appear overall Caucasian, the hair is wavy, the root of the triangular nose is relatively high and wider than Indid's, lips not very thick. However, the skin is dark brown, very dark brown, often darker than Invades. The name derives from, and this is endomelanid, the name derives from melanin. Overall morphological affinities to Ethiopians exist, probably developed the agricultural populations of India where early Caucasoids pushed back older Vedis. Perhaps. The southern carnatid variety concentrated in Tamil Nadu, usually regarded as the most typical representative in Jharkhand and West Bengal. A northern Kolid variety has been identified with more angular, slightly gondoid features. Endomelanids play an important role in modern Indians. In small numbers, Roma and Sinti endomelanin admixture to Europe several centuries ago. So, and another thing about this, people are always like, okay, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from Maryland. They're like, no. Where's your family from? And I'm like, we're from Maryland. And they're like, no. Where are they from? We're from Maryland. Like, okay, what about your great 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 grandparents? They're also from Maryland. What about your great 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 grandparents? Also from Maryland. I'm literally from Maryland. Like, I keep like trying to tell people we're from there, from at least the 1800s. And we do have our genealogy back further than that. I need to get my hands on it. But yeah, this is very unusual to have. Hey, I'm from here, but I've got 80%. I look like I'm from India. All right, here's another one. This is 72%. This is kind of like, again, this little part that's close to the Middle East, but still off the coast of Africa. Ethiopian type. Okay, this says Danakil, specialized Ethiopian type living in the hottest region of the world. This is why I like heat. I can tolerate the heat. The Danakil Depression of Eritrea and northern Ethiopia, with an annual average temperature of more than 34 degrees Celsius. Most common in, I think that's like 90 degrees, I believe. Most common in Afar people in the southern tribes of Saho or Hazu, occasionally in northern Somalia and across Ethiopia, right? Very dark, reddish brown skin, tight, and I have red undertones on my skin, tight tight curl to kinky curl hair, endomorph, ectomorph rather than short, being the shortest of all Ethiopians, of course. Mesophiliac, sometimes these other words, relatively soft facial features. The nose is mildly leptorine, narrower than North Ethiopians, but wider than East Ethiopians. Lip are full, and body hair is skin. And I don't have a lot of body hair, so that's, again, very interesting. Again, 72%, like this is now 60%. We're moving on down the line. This is Central Bantu, which is in that same region as the other one, which is this one. Not this one. This one, the Bantuid. So now I'm familiar, similar to the Central Bantuid. This is 60%. Bantuid variety characterized by elongated features and strong dilocephaly, found especially in Mozambique and Zimbabwe, also Malawi, Namibia, Botswana, Zambia, Angola, South Africa, Madagascar, and adjacent countries. Entered the area as a result of the Bantu expansion some millennia ago, typified by Songa and Tonga, also Kundu, Mbundu, Vili, Venda, Ngwawe, and others, rarer across Congo to Gabon and Cameroon. Traits: dark brown skin, sometimes black, usually kinky, sometimes peppercorn hair, rather tall, which is not me. Narrow skull and wider nose and other Bantuids. Mouth large, lips rather full, proganthony, and receding chin more pronounced in women. All right, so I got a dot of West African, but look, 58% as compared to the 80% of the other ones. Sudanid variety with shorter skulls than Sudanids proper and several other unique features that set it apart from other neighboring groups. Similar to the Casamite type, but taller and wider face. I do have a wide face. Found in its purest form in Bobo Fing and Bobo Douala in the Upper Volta region of Burkina Faso and Mali. French speaking, also in Dogon, Senofu, and Songhai, in low frequencies across West Africa. So this is not really like super widespread facial structure, okay? And it says sometimes brown, sometimes black skin, usually kinky hair, tall, mesophilic, microhyposcranic, relatively short nose that is lower in women. The face is large with a large mouth and bulging lips. Occiput and proganthony are usually pronounced. Body hair extremely weak. All right. So, not to leave it out, just so people can understand, I am also have the characteristics of a person native to this land. So it's lower, 58%, but it's still there. So again, the migration probably from across the West, from the East, the far west, the far East, all the way across. You could just see how in my facial features, my ancestors traveled from the far East over towards the West to build a home here because I have this planet, right? Native American type, named after the Great Plains of North America. In pre-Columbian times, concentrated in the central Canadian forests from where it extended to the Mississippi. When Europeans reintroduced horses to the continent, bison hunts enabled settlement of the prairies. Today, common in Siouan speakers, Dakota, Assiniboine, Lakota, Crow, etc. Blackfoot, which I am by blood Blackfoot or Saponi, and Cheyenne, mixed in Obijwe, Apache, Dogrib, and others. Population still in the 100,000s, right? So it's not a lot of people who have this particular type. Traits are yellowish to red, yellowish, reddish, light brown skin, but the name redskin came from the war paint. No, some of us were, anyway, straight, sometimes wavy black hair, which is, like I said, my hair grows out of my head completely straight. If you see some of my videos, like the last video I posted where my hair is literally completely straight. Like I have a afro, like, anyway. tall, mesoscalic, mesomorph to endomorph, large-headed, prominent, long, convex nose, angular, flat face with prominent cheekbones, jaw massive, mouth broad, eyes sometimes slanting. And I do have a little bit of slanty eyes, right? All right, so that was 58%, right? All right, so I have just as much of this as or more as some of these other people, these other people who call themselves natives. I have this in me. So like I said, I'm for sure native to this land. I have features from other lands too. All right, Congo Lessid, which is more in the Central Africa, widespread of the Congo Forest Basin, common to Gabon or to DR, Democratic Republic of Congo, Central African Republic, Angola, and Zambia. Typical for Western and Northern Bantu speakers, and more mixed with Chukwe, Cafodian, Zande, Congo, etc. And the traits are dark brown skin, sometimes light brown, kinky, rarely peppercorn hair, rather short. What can I read? Large angular face with prominent cheekbones, Placerine, funnel-shaped nose with extremely depressed root, lips thinner than Sudanese, body hair stronger, occiput flat, Pythagoras with a receding chin. All right, now back to India. This is Colid, North Dravadian type, related to melanids, but with stronger Gondid influence. An important population element in India. Purest in Jharkhand and West Bengal, particularly in Kalarians, typical in Sinthal and Ho, extends west to Rajputana, transitional to the Melanids in East Deccan and East Brackets in Bengal. I have been mistaken for Indian though, especially when I dress a certain way. Traits are black brown skin, often darker than Vedos, except for Malids, curvy or wavy hair, short, mesoscalic, ectomorph, sometimes endomorph, dichomethyscalic, ortho, blah, 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 triangular nose, the face is high and angular with relatively full lips, similar to carnotids and gonadids from the latter is distinguished by higher, stronger faces, stronger chins, higher foreheads, and the absence of progantism. All right, so now back over to West Africa, and you see it's like India, Africa, America, India, Africa, America, like equal parts. All right, this is Guineo-Cameroonian, that's 52%. And the distribution, of course, is West African type. Shorter skull, counterpart of the Guinea-Sids, may constitute the transition to Congo-Sids, common in forest regions. You notice the forest thing, like I'm from the forest. I like the forest, okay? Forest regions of Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, Liberia, Ghana, Togo, Nigeria, Western Cameroon, sporadically in Senegal, Upper Volta region in the Congo Basin, frequent in Gagu, Asani, Anai, Ashanti, Southern Igbo, Cameroonians, and many related people. And it's funny because, like I said, my ex-husband is Igbo, so I thought I was marrying an African from Africa. We didn't have anything in common, but as it turns out, yeah, it's still sort of related. All right, usually dark, sometimes medium brown skin, kinky hair, medium height, rather tall. Lips are thick, wide face, rounded females, round angular in men. Individuals sometimes appear baby faced, which again, I look 31 and I'm not 31. Protagonist with a weak chin. So let's take a look at my dad's profile. He is not 69. He is younger than 69. However, I think, wait a minute, let me do the math real quick. He might be. Hold on. I might be wrong. He's 67. Yeah. So he looks older than his age, but he also works way too much. And his primary feature is South American. And you look at what's highlighted. It's called Amazonid, and it's crazy because I actually, on his side, just using our last name, was able to trace our last name back to the forest, what they call it, the forest kings of Mexico. And so this, I'm not far off, man. I'm not far off, and I just did that by last name. So the Amazon is Native American type, right? From the tropical lowland forests of South America. And where I get the Saspani is from my dad. Where I get Chata or Choctaw, I guess how they sometimes pronounce it, is from my mom's side. So, Native American type from the tropical lowland forests of South America, developed in Ghanaian savannas from a proto-Mongolid stock that had migrated south, coming from the Bering Strait, later expanded over all Amazonia, modern Brazil, the Caribbean, where it was a dominant type during pre-Columbian periods. Populations collapsed after contact with Europeans, but several Amazonian tribes remain today. Body often short, mildly thick-set, female, strong lumbar, lordosis, small butts, skull often medium long, steep, broad forehead, soft facial features, weak cheekbones, narrow lid fissure, relatively high nose, weak chin, light to medium yellowish or reddish brown skin, straight to wavy hair. And my dad's hair, you couldn't see it in the picture, obviously, but what Steve Harvey was trying to do with his little fake hair, that my dad's hair actually looks like that. It's got that afro cut thing, just like Steve Harvey's hair. But it's real, okay? Before Steve Harvey stopped pretending. All right. The North Amazonid is often regarded as a typical variety, slightly fairer and taller, and South Amazids result from relatively late migrations to the south. The darker, more robust wool Amazids assimilated older elements. Okay, so here's another one, Mexicid. So this again, now this is a person who was from this land, and yet he's got South American, we got Mexican. Again, he's Saspani, so he fits directly into this. Margid proper probably arrived from one of the earlier migrations to America. Typified by Otomi, Perpucha, Pame, Pima of Mexico, and West Mono and Pomo of California. More mixed with Maidu, Aztecs, Maya, Yuma, Shoshone, and many others over a large area of northern Guatemala to the Great Plains. Although it is often mixed today, it still plays an important role in modern Mexican. So reddish, medium, sometimes dark brown skin, often straight black hair, rather short, meso, sometimes macroscopic, endomorph, sometimes ectomorph, mesophalic, sometimes, I can't pronounce that, straight or slightly concave nose with depressed root, face rhomboid, mildly protagonist, chin receding, visual suborbital arches, eyes usually not slanted. And my dad's eyes are not slanted that much, okay? All right, here's another one, another Mexican Native American group, Margid. He's 43% this Native American group, native to the semi-deserts and dry forests from California to Mexico. Relatively ancient. Oh, isn't that shocking? Arrived with one of the first migrations to America during the Paleolithic. Margid skulls often long and small, supraorbital arches, significant low and broad face, eye folds are rare, relatively wide, low rooted nose, chin weak, hair straight, skin reddish medium to dark brown. Most populations and typical Margids are the short and stocky Mexids, which was the one he was before. Sonorids are taller and more elongated, often even darker, show a strong adaptation to arid climate. And my dad lives in the mountains, so arid climate. In contrast to those two high-skulled varieties, the almost extinct Californian is low-skulled, even shorter and very robust. Slivid, centralid, and later European colonizations dramatically reduced the Margid numbers, but as an admix element, Mexikids play an important role in the modern Mexican population. So, as you can see at the top of the picture, Mexico, okay? Americas, still the Americas. Sonorid. So basically, all of his stuff is all over here. I think he's got one that's not over here. Very low amount. Sonorid. Margid subtype. So this is a subtype of the Margid, which is the one he was as well. Native to the Sonora Desert of South Arizona and California, as well as northwestern Mexico. Probably arrived was one of the earlier migrations to America. Today typified by the Pima and the Seri, more mixed in Yuma, Papago, Tlapicneco, and many other people of the southern U.S. and Mexico probably played an important role in the extinct inhabitants of Baja California. So he's tied in with that. Here's another one, Fiji, which is the Fiji area. Of course, that's the islands that's way over here by Australia. Polynesian, Melanesian contact type, the dominant population in Fiji Islands. Both elements have probably mixed in the zone for several millennia. Also found in the Solomons, Vanuatu, East New Guinea, and some other regions of Melanesia and Polynesia. And he is 35% that. North Amazonid, so we had the other Amazonid, now it's North Amazonid. Amazonid proper, the dominant type of the rainforest of North Amazon River to the Caribbean. Common among Caribbean speakers, i.e. or e.g. Caribs, Makushi, Pima, Tarupang, Wayana, Yabrana, and others. The fearsome Caribs made the Spanish create the word cannibal. Originated in Guyanan savannas and expanded to the Caribbean, where it pushed back the West Amazonids. European contact and disease dramatically ended their reign. And another one is South Polynesian. So we got Fiji and South Polynesian. South Polynesian variety. Some assume similarities with the first Polynesian variety that migrated from Southeast Asia into Oceania. Found in its purest form in the Maori of New Zealand, but also Maori and Rapa Nui, occasionally across Polynesia. New Zealand and Easter Island were reached in the Middle Ages, sometimes replacing older Melanesians. Population collapse due to introduced disease from Europeans. Only in Maori the type could recover though admixture is relatively high, so mixed in. And we have robust Polynesian, so that's in New Zealand. Relatively recent Polynesian variety, and he's 33% this. Relatively recent Polynesian variety that developed after the Southeast Asian migration waves had reached Oceania, most like brachyphilized Nesiotid, Proto-Malabid blend, possibly with Indianid influence, typical in Hawaii, Tonga, Samoa, Cook Islands, Marquise, and Tahiti, where the Celestial index peaks, extends across all of Oceania, and may sometimes be found in Melanesia and Western America. And my dad, he's from Maryland. Just to point this out again, he's from Maryland. His parents are from Maryland. His parents are from Maryland. Well, Pennsylvania and Maryland. This man is a Marylander. How is this found from Polynesia all the way over to Maryland? All right. We have the Choco Leon, and it's a special type found in Colombia, Venezuela, as well as Panama. Contains bracelet elements as well as relics of one of the first migrations to South America that show the similarities of the Fuegids. Typical groups include the Choco, Leon, and some related people, many of them extinct today, was also present in pre-Columbian Ecuadorian culture. So this is before Columbus, okay? All right, and this is why I said not entirely. He got a little bit of this Russian, basically. It's called Aoshima, and it's an Anuid proper, the most ancient type of Japan, which is fascinating. Resembles Paleolithic Japanese populations like the Jomon people. He's 30% this. Probably a relic of an old group once widespread in Asia, survived in the Ainu of Hokkaido until the 20th century. Today almost extinct due to admixture caused by centuries of Japanese assimilation policy. Occasionally in South Sakhalin, Kamacha, Honatsu, and Kuril and Ryukyu Islands. This is the last one. Yeah. So that's my dad. Let's take a look at my mom. All right. Again, now I just noticed that their numbers, their facial features aren't as strong. I wonder if I use younger pictures of them, will I find something different? Which I do have a younger picture of my mom. I'll give you an update if it's significantly different. Just as a part two, because I also want to throw my grandparents in there, which I just realized I have pictures of them too. So we're going to take a look and see what we can find out. So my mom, North Animid, Tasmanid, Dogon. I mean, her highest correlation is this 45%. So let's take a look. North Andamanid, okay? Almost extinct. And if you look on this map, I couldn't even figure out where it was. It's like a little dot right on the bottom off the coast of Andaman is, oh, excuse me, it's pretty early. Off the coast of India, but on the side closer to China, okay? Almost extinct, isolated type endemic to the Andaman Islands, particularly in Great Andamanese groups, rarer in other Andamanese. After contact with Europeans in the 19th century, the population collapsed, mostly due to disease. Only about a dozen Great Andamanese remain today. Several of them are mixed. And this is what she is, similar to 45%. That is shocking to me. And this is basically an extinct group of people. Tasmanid, which is off the coast of Tasmania, is off the coast of Australia. Insular, slightly gracilized Australia type of Tasmania, similar to Barinian, sometimes also associated with Melanesid or Nectagrid, most likely developed due to isolation after Tasmania split off Australia. Extinct today, the last full-blooded male-female died in the 1860s. European colonists had wiped out the type within a few decades by war, displacement, and most importantly, introducing diseases. However, few descendants of mixed ancestry remain, like my mom, which is 42%. All right, so the next one you see is like the Great Britain area, European. You'll see she's got a lot of European. Again, we're from Maryland, okay? Ancient, mostly Europid type of northeastern Europe and western Siberia associated with ancient Kameric culture, probably played a role in the formation of modern Uralids and Baltanids, so the Baltics. Survived peoples in Ural region, especially Khanty, Mansai, and Shuvash. In low frequencies, it extends west to Europe and east to Altai. All right. Then we have this Middle Eastern, Saudi Arabian. Ancient Veda is called Arabian Vedoid. Ancient Veda type, and I had a lot of that Veda type thing in mind too. From of the Arabian Peninsula and South Iran, often heavily mixed. Found in the Mahari of South Oman, around Hadramut in Yemen, Iranians of Susa, Makran, and Socotrans. Sometimes in Mesopotamia and even Nubia. This type could be linked to the ancestral Arabian population as well as the Dravidians of India. So she's 37% affiliated with this type. And here we go, another Japanese type. So my dad and my mom both have this little Japanese thing, right? Which is super interesting in and of itself. Distinct Tungid variety, probably split from neighboring types. Oh, this is Amur Sakhalin. At the end of the Paleolithic. Native to parts of Sakhalin Amur region, typified by Nivkas, mixed in Ulch rather, and rare in Aurochs and Aleuts. Nivka culture suffered heavily from Chinese and Cossack influence. This type present in a few thousand today. So again, my mom has all these super rare. This isn't extinct. All of these things are extinct in common people in those areas, in those regions. So she's got a little bit of East African Sandawe. It's distinctive East African type of the Tanzanian savannas, especially to the Dodoma region, a relic of the Colosanid populations that were more widespread prior to the Bantu expansion, also linked to Maasai. Most common in the Sandawe, who still speak a click language, more mixed in Datuga, Turu, Mbungo, Barunj, Gogo, Bon, and Aki. And another, of course, Asian, Central Borachid. Indo-Borachid variety with a morphological and geographical position between West and East Indo-Borachids, possibly resulting from different, more alphonid migrations. Overall taller, most common in Uttar Pradesh, South Nepal, Gangetic Plain, the Deccan Plateau, and other parts of central India as far as Orissa, yeah. All right, and then she's got Pacific. So this is another type of native. Another type of native. Another one. You see, this one is more California up, like towards Alaska, all on that side of the west coast of America. And she's 26% similar to this. Native American type, indigenous to the Pacific states of Canada and the U.S., mostly results from late Paleolithic and Neolithic migrations from Asia. Rather tall with robust body, short legs and arms, short and low skull, broad angular face, prominent nose, Mongolian fold rare, so she don't have that fold in the eyes. Broad mouth, large jaw, chin, thin lips, pilus growth, comparatively strong, yellowish brown skin. The most typical variety, the Pacific proper, is found from South Alaska to Oregon among the Wakashan and Salishan speakers. In California, longer face, soft featured, and darker skin California Pacific variety is found. Pacifics also play a role in the formation and more mixed Adversary and Arizonid, just like my dad, varieties. European colonization decimated the populations, but less than in natives of the East Coast groups where contact began much earlier. So they destroyed them, but not as much, which is why you see it's not really no East Coast stuff in her bloodline. That was all kind of wiped out. All right, so this one is 25%, and this is called Kwa, I guess. Pigamoid type of the Congo forest, intermediate between Bambutid and Congolicid. Important groups of the DR Congo are Mongo Swa, close to the May Ndombe and the Tumba Lakes, as well as Kasai Kwa of the Lomani River. Also typical in Batwa around the Lake Kivu in Rwanda and Burundi, mixed in with other Pygmy and Congo populations. And then this is another sort of Central to East Africa type Silukid, Nitolid variety similar to Dinkade, but with slightly modified features, typically found in the savannas of the Upper Nile and South Sudan. Extends to western Ethiopia, e.g. Gambela, most common in the Shulik, but also in Anak, more mixed in with other Nilotic people. So again, let me just go back to this front page for my mom. So my mom, her profile is mostly extinct races, places, people that they say don't exist anymore. Now, how is it that a lady from Maryland can possess all of these phenotypes? That's what maybe they're called phenotypes. Phenotypes of individuals that don't exist, and yet she does exist. Now, it's not as high numbers as it is in mine, It's not as in high numbers as it is in mine, but it is still, those are 45% is a pretty high number. And that's the highest one. So like I said, I do have pictures of my grandparents and my great grandparents and all of that. So I'm just going to go through and see, if I can find more interesting things. This is just like one of those things that you can clearly see, like, you can clearly see where you come from when you look at these kind of things. And I'm not saying, like, back to mine, I'm not saying like I'm 100%, oh, this is exactly what it is, but like, just based on what I've been researching, what I've been looking into, what I've been drawn to, when I follow my instincts and stuff like that, like, it's highly related to like a lot of like African stuff and also a lot of Indian stuff. And so I'm not really surprised at that for myself. And so I, put this out there so people can look into their, lineage and determine if they are, in fact, interested in this kind of knowledge so that they can find out more about themselves. This is all about being on a journey to self-discovery. You really want to find out, who you are. So could I say by this little experiment here that my people were there when whatever happened to Yeshua happened? Absolutely, because I have people connected to the Middle East in that area where they said these things happen. I have people connected to India where other people say other things happen. In Africa where people say other things. In America where other people say things happen. I have ties to everywhere. And so when I say I feel like I am a representative of that, why don't you get dressed first?
I am dressed.
You can't wear those. More than likely that's probably accurate, man. And when I looked at my kids, same thing. I could see, you can see the little bits and pieces. And with my oldest daughter, I used a picture of her when she was younger and with a picture when she was older, and they both came out the same. So this is just, to me, completely fascinating, super interesting. Just helps me to connect more with myself, my higher self, my previous incarnations and previous timelines and places I've been and stuff like that. I also feel like this kind of lines up with my astrocartography. I haven't done all of that calculations yet, but I'm sure I'll be looking into that. And this is just from a picture, and then the astrocartography is just from my birthday. So it's like all these things are encoded into who we are right now. So we don't want to ignore the stuff that is, obvious. It's obvious that if you put your face into one of these things, it'll tell you what your facial structure looks like based on other facial structures around the world. And then you can have more clarity and understanding about who you are, where you come from, even your past incarnations and stuff like that. These could be fake, like, I could go on and on, but I'm not. So I hope this is helpful or interesting to somebody. Shalom, and we will see you in the next video.